Welcome to Discover Joyous Love. I am Anita DeFrancesco, bringing you episode 23, and the topic is romance and the psychopath. Psychopathic personality type, that is. I can be found at tantrawisdom.com. I am a love and relationship coach. I am also a psychotherapist, and I practice somatics, orgone, energy, psychotherapy, so you'll have to look me up and find out what that's all about. But in the meantime, let's get on with our topic here. First of all, in the world we are living in this political climate, the psychopathic personality is becoming one of a regular type of person. Now, I'm not saying that everyone is a psychopath. There are clinical psychopathic type of people out there that need a lot of help. Psychopathy is a personality disorder. And this disorder takes a lot of somatic body healing, psychotherapy work, and coaching to bring the person back into balance from this dangerous personality that is not one of feeling. So people that are psychopathic are generally cut and frozen from the feeling. They're not empathetic, and they're out for themselves. So in the political climate that we're in, there's a lot of people displaying the psychopathic traits since we're ruled by the psychopathic elite. But due to the media influences, the average person develops psychopathic traits. And this is what's happening. So this helps the real psychopaths blend in with society. So we need to be a little bit more conscious and aware just to see what these personality types that are being born and reborn and developed as a result of the world. What is a psychopath? Well, they generally don't have successful relationships. It's because they're more about capacity than quality. And they just kind of need to fulfill a moment because they're empty or their absence of the emotional connection, thus the true feeling. So this personality disorder is a person that would be more kind of, if you would, so to speak, someone that has that frozen, icy kind of energy or appearance, we'll say, lack of empathy. They're very hostile and impulsive. And in a lot of clinical psychopathy develops in childhood. When you see a child that's aggressive behavior, they're always getting called out in school, and they're bullying people, and they commit crimes. Small crimes lead to big crimes. So the real psychopath is a lot of our criminals out there today, because they're so cut from feeling that they're devoid of this feeling that it's okay to commit a crime or even murder someone, for that matter. But not all psychopaths are that way. Some of us just have little bits of traces of it, or little pieces of elements of it within our own personality. Now, they can go through a life wreaking harm on others, and it means nothing to them. Now, since the topic, we're talking about romance, sexuality, intimacy, which I'm a love and relationship coach, the sex is never a mutually emotional experience with the psychopath, because the psychopathic people are just going through the motions. They're just getting their needs fulfilled. They lack the emotional connection. It's very sad, because they're basically they were isolated and frozen from childhood, and this is the pattern they were shaped into in the adult world. A lot of them are professional people in the, like, say, law business, a lot of lawyers, a lot of entrepreneurial people that are cutthroats in business, or a lot of them have the traits of a psychopath. They may not be a psychopath. And that's all good, but what happens when they get back to romance and the feeling and the relationship and the partner and making love? Where does that fit into this personality type? They're mostly concerned about getting their needs met. And a lot of people can be hurt in the interim because these people, these psychopathic type personalities, they come on very strong. They're very charming. And narcissism and psychopathic overlap each other. So don't get them confused. Yeah, I did a story already on narcissism and the psychopathy. They sort of overlap. They have similar characteristic traits. Now, staying focused here on the psychopathy, they're a pro at getting someone into bed. Have you ever been with someone who was just knew how to seduce you? The seductive personality, but it's very calculating, but they do it very well. So you have to, and we fall prey to that. People fall prey to that because they're very good. The psychopath is sexually motivated by power. So he or she will perform from his selfish wants, like money. You know, sex is very gratifying. Money is power. And they master the art of performance. So in other words, they're pseudo, they're fake. They're just a fraud in a way. And they use the right words and tones and intonations when they speak in their speech because they know how to, they understand. It's something that they're not empathetic and disconnected from their feelings, but yet they understand other people's, the way to get into other people's feelings, we'll say, and other people's, not only their feelings, but, shaving them away from their innocence. And yet the psychopath doesn't have feeling or empathy, and yet they can see that in another person. They can pick out the most vulnerable person, something that they don't have because they're hardened, they're armored. They're generally non-committal, and they love sex for it to be short-lived. So keeping in mind the casual sex man or woman, that's their MO. They like this short-lived kind of affair. Sex with a stranger allows the psychopathy person to get quick access to another person's vulnerabilities because at that point they don't know the person, they don't know each other. And so it becomes an attack game for them, a target. They're a predator in a way. They're the type of people that seem too good to be true. So if you're in a relationship with someone and one of the first statements you make, she or he is just too good to be true, then it is too good to be true. Men and women are likely to fall prey to the psychopath because they're highly calculated strategies. They would be excessive, like in their personality, forcing flattery. They're the type that also would look for pity and sympathy, creating that sense that you and that person share a similar connection of pain, that is. So you have to be aware, you have to be a step ahead of this type of character. They find the victims that are lonely and lost and that just got out of a relationship or that are dealing with a grieving situation. They find those victims. They're expert at reading the cues that indicate vulnerability. And I find that very peculiar that they can't even understand their own empathetic self, that don't have empathy at all or feeling or compassion, and they're cut from their feeling, but yet they can read the cues that indicate vulnerability in another human being. How about that? So they're very detached from themselves, isolated, and they're removed from their own senses, their own feeling. Disposing of the sexual or romantic partners as they are unnecessary objects. So you would be an object to this person. So keeping in mind, in a romance, it's a connection, it's a sharing, it's a team, it's enjoying and pleasuring each other in the best way that you can, or laughing together, having fun. But with the psychopathy personality, they are only with a partner because they look at you, they don't look at you as human because they don't have that ability, that feeling to connect in that way. A lot of people stay with this type of personality because longer than expected, because over time they become a victim. And in that way, the psychopath isolates you from your family, your friends. He or she manipulates you to a point that you're basically under their control. And once you're under their control, you're basically bearing down to their needs and wants. So again, getting back to the political climate we're living in, there's a lot of the psychopathic personality floating around, not to be mistaken with the clinical psychopath. So these psychopathic developed personalities are a result of media and political climate and all the things going on right now in the world. But how are you able to tell the person is a psychopath? Studying the eyes, for example, looking into the person's eyes, that dead reptilian kind of look, emptiness. That's one trait, one thing to look for. Another thing what a psychopath can do is enslave a victim. So again, they want you to be under their control. And they enslave you into an intimate relationship. And there's a few different categories here that I'm going to talk to you about each one. The first one that a psychopath is a genius at is seducing you. They will figure what kind of partner that you desire. So if you're the type of person that likes someone that's into fancy cars or someone that's into trucks, we'll say, they will become that, or at least try to fill that desire, because they read you very well and they will sort of mimic those feelings. They will extract those feelings from you and become that what they think you're looking for. And they're pretty right on target about it as well. They can read you like a book. They'll mimic victims to gain their trust. That is the key. They want to gain your trust. Then there's they exalt a love bomb, number 2. That means they become your hero. He or she becomes your all or nothing, your hero, someone that is there to save you. And with compliments, and you become addicted to the compliments and the gifts and all of that stuff. So that is another, and people that have addictions can fall easily into those type of patterns with people. Then there's the third part of this here is bonding. So that this person will share their deepest secrets with you, but there'll be lies. There'll be fantasies that they're creating. They'll be making up stories as they're going along. Then the fourth one is the trauma bond, where after you're bonded and you're in love and you're feeling close and connected, the blow comes, the indifference, the violence. It evolves into a love triangle or a narcissistic triangulation. And then the goal for this psychopathic person with you, say, is to cause shock or emotional upset, so that now you're even more of a victim. And this trauma abuse bonds you more together. It's very abusive. So this makes you stay more connected to the person and bond you even further. But this is where the violence begins in this, what they call trauma bonding. Then that's because they feed off of the intense feelings of others. And this is how they generate feeling and food for their own self, the food feeling of being able to connect. In some way, they're trying so hard, the psychopath, to connect to feeling. And they're trying so hard to get to that deepness. They don't know how, but this is a way that they have, as a survivor, they have learned to manipulate others and use others. And in some instances, they gain a little bit of feeling. So the victims become into a spellbound state. They get into a cognitive dissonance. And the psychopath will feed off of their energy source. It's like a vampire. They feed off of your energy because now you're in cognitive dissonance. And you're totally in a almost in a hallucinatory state, that you just kind of acquiesce to the whole situation here because you're under control and you're feeling like attached. And the attachment is so false in your own self, but you don't even see it. And when the victims, they give that person another chance, and then they fully trust each other again, or fully trust the psychopath again. Then the next part of this is entrapment. This psychopath will entrap this psychopathic person, the enemy will say, will entrap you and take your freedom away, isolate you from friends, family, even destroy your telephone so you lose your phone numbers. You become in this hypnotic state. He'll hypnotize you. He or she will hypnotize you with speech patterns, and they'll try to set you up against your friends. So entrapping all along, this is what it's been about, to be in control. And then they use you up. If there's no money left, no emotional support left, and no sexual energies coming their way, or emotional padding, or money, or anything materialistic, you're used up. They'll spit you out, chew you up, and spit you out. And that is an old saying that I've heard. They'll chew you up and spit you out. And then the last part of that, you're discarded. You're kicked to the curb. They cannot be used anymore, so you're discarded. And the victim at this point can display suicidal personality traits at that time, or begin drugs or any type of addictions or self-destruction, because a relationship of this sort is very, very painful and abusing and very addicting and not easy to see. So we need to sharpen our skills of consciousness awareness through my tantrawisdom.com work. I'm a love and relationship coach, psychotherapist, somatic orgone energy psychotherapy. I have a book called Live Free. You can get that on Amazon. And my other book, the Donna Gentile story, which is available, a true crime story about a woman who was resilient and dealt with a lot of psychopathic personality types, and had to, in the end, was a real victim of murder. So anyhow, thank you for tuning in to Discover Joy's Love. I've been your host, Anita DeFrancesco. Tune in again.